Gosh.
Hey, how you doing? Having trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, yep.
Okay, yep, I can hear you just fine. All right. First of all, I just want to thank you for taking the time out your busy schedule for doing this with me. I know I'm a small creator, so first of all, I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries at all.
Okay, so just for a quick introduction, who are you and what do you do?
My name is John Coumoundorous, but everybody calls me by my nickname Kong. And I'm the equipment manager, senior director of equipment and facilities.
Okay. So how did you get the nickname Kong actually? How did you
Uh,
get it?
it came from a long time ago, from before I worked for the Pistons, like 25 years ago, maybe 26 years now, where it was like strong like King Kong. I was working at a golf course
Okay.
and just like always just messing around doing things like that. So with like carrying like huge logs, messy, so it came from that.
Okay. And I know before the Pistons, you're also I guess really into like boxing, MMA, and how did you get introduced to that?
Actually, through the Pistons. So I was really, I was always interested in doing like WWE wrestling. That was
Hmm.
always something I always like like a thing like I was like watching and all that. I looked into possibly doing it, and then at the time I found out like the school was like it's really expensive. The one I was looking at was local, and I was like, man, I can afford this. And that was when around the time I befriended Jonas Jerebko, and then he was really into MMA at the time
Okay.
with UFC, and I was kind of interested in it, and I thought it was kind of cool. And then he got me introduced someone that he knew that was Swedish, that was a trainer in the area, and I just started training and doing that. I really fell in love with it, and that's where I kind of got. And that was about 15 years ago or so. So it was
Okay.
here.
So it was through Jones Jerebko that you got introduced to the Pistons organization and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like through him and then because we would watch a couple UFC fights and then I ended up working one at the Palace. So doing some extra this before I was full time. So I was kind of doing random jobs when I could. And I was helping with the video production staff running the cables, and I was running the cables for the walkout camera. So
Okay.
all the fighters are coming out of the tunnels, and that was kind of the experience of it. That was really got me involved in it.
Okay. And you've been with the Pistons organization for a little over 20 years now. So what is here with the Pistons organization? Like, because you've seen like you've experienced the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. So what has kept you here for so long?
Well, the cool thing about it's just this the NBA in general, this team in general, like every day is a new day. There's always something new. I learn there's always something I don't know. There's always something new that happens in a year, the new challenge. It can be anything from the smallest of stuff that you find out the days I've never seen that before. I've never seen this, never had to conquer this hurdle. And there's always something new as you go through. And every year's a new year, every year's a new season. And it was like you said, you hit the nail on the head, seeing the highs and the lows. I've seen both. I mean, from 2 years ago being probably the ultimate lowest with our season win count, but with that, that was one of the you could feel the energy with that team where it was going to grow, even though it was a really interesting year that year. It didn't feel like watching practices, watching it. Didn't feel like that type of season.
Yeah.
Guys are playing hard. Guys are doing the right things. It was it just wasn't lining up just right, and it really just you could just feel like it could have been more. And obviously that with that translating into last year, that's where it went. So it was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Basically just like you have like a soda can, like the pressure's building up more and more and more, and basically this season it finally popped and the reaction came through finally.
Yes, finally. And it was cool because of watching because when I started, and that's one thing I like about this too, with being involved with this team for so long is he said I started off at the really high. So I started off in the second 50-win season of Rick Carlisle the year before the championship. So I saw the sort of the close to the building process up to the championship. So like being behind the scenes, a fly on the wall, watching what happens. But I never this is my first time seeing it start from the beginning to where we're going now, and it really feels that way right now. Like so, I was able to catch that first part of the build to a great team.
Okay. And kind of going in between like that little era of like in between like the going to work and now the back to work Pistons, you have like that era with Andre Drummond, Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, and stuff like that. Did you see like any potential with that team? Did you see them going places?
Yeah, you did every day. Like, cause when you're behind the scenes, you see everybody's potential. You see the greatness that they have. I mean, it takes. I mean, you gotta think like we look at things as a whole when it's just on TV. Like my job, for instance, I'm trying to when I explain the intricacies of my job, which is all year long, every day of the week, and then sometimes weekends off in the summertime. When sometimes, right? Because that's how work intensive it is. But from the outside, what does the equipment manager do? Because you see uniforms and basketballs, but you don't see all the little stuff built into like my job. So it's the same thing for these players that have been playing for their whole lives. These guys are at the elite of everything, and then them trying to get better at everything they do. It's really amazing to watch that and seeing how hard they work on a daily basis and how hard they work their entire lives to get to to this point too, and to separate themselves from everybody else because it takes a lot to get to this league in any shape, way, or form. It's just you have to be you have to be the best at what you do.
Okay, and with being an equipment manager, you deal with like a lot of the uniforms, you deal with a lot of like the equipment like basketballs and things of that nature. And some people who may want to do that, like and hear that, like, oh, I get to work with the players and stuff like that. But what do you think is like an unheard thing or misconception people have about the job that you have?
I think it's the amount of time that it actually takes. Time it takes away from your family. Like traveling with the team seems glorious. It is and isn't, right? There's a lot of work that goes in because you're here before the players, you're here after the players. Same thing when you get to hotels. When pl- where players are number one, so that's we take care of them at whatever however way we can. So when they get to the hotel, we try to get their stuff to them as quickly as possible. And after that whole ordeal of getting about excuse me, about 70 people from plane to bus to hotel and all luggage, all the equipment, and the equipment we have weight wise is like 5,000 pounds of equipment. Um, right. So it's crazy because you think like it's just basketballs, but no, we have medical stuff. We have all the equipment, all of our backup stuff. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of things that we carry. So with that said, and plus luggage pieces, we're on a West Coast trip, and a lot of players are carrying two pieces of luggage. You're looking at 120 to 140 pieces of luggage that go into the hotel, go into each room, and sent up through Bellman, and all that equipment. Half of it goes into the hotel, and the other half has to go to the arena. So say we land at after a game, we're on the road after a game. It's 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. Most times after I get everything up, I'm not jumping on the truck, going to the arena, setting up the arena with all the other stuff, uniforms and stuff like that we have, and then going back to the hotel. And sometimes I don't get back till 4 or 5 in the morning, and then you're back up ready to work at 8, 9 because that's when everything gets going for the next day.
But when do you sleep?
I sleep in shifts.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just something you just kind of learn to get a feel for. I've always worked. I've always been like in. I use this example when I talk to people because I have 3 kids, and when people are a first time parent and they're worried about that sleep schedule, right?
oh yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Like I say, hey, if you don't count on sleep, like you don't, that's not going to get there, you don't miss it.
Yeah.
I don't need sleep. I'm like I have this drive for wanting to be here with this job, get the job done, and I get my rest when I can. Like I never try to short myself, but I mean I catch when we're on a plane and it's a 3 hour flight. Probably gonna pass out on a plane and sleep there. I sleep when I can, but yeah, it's kind of it's a grind.
Yeah. So my next question is talking about the growth and mass production of like uniforms and stuff like that. Because from years ago, people will wear like jerseys for like a couple of games, and now with some teams they only wear like a jersey uh for like half a game for only for only 2 quarters. So what are your thoughts and opinions about like the mass production of like jerseys and stuff like that, and just having more availability?
I think it's cool. I think it shows the growth of the league. It shows the growth of all of our leagues across the spectrum of all the pro leagues. It's really cool to go from like when I started in 2002, where you had we had two jerseys, and then sometimes you had a third alternate every once in a while, and every once in a while you had a throwback uniform you wore. So, and then with that, guys were wearing that same jersey for weeks and months,
Yeah.
and there's no grab for it. But and now it's become such a with the collector's items and the league programs and all of this stuff they do. I think it's pretty cool because it just shows you how interested everybody is in the league, is in the players, and is interested into the teams, and then the research they do behind it. I think it's kind of a cool thing.
No, yeah, and that was kind of going to be like my follow up, like your thoughts about the NBA collabing with like auction houses and organizations like Fanatics or Sotheby's, and like giving collectors and fans like the opportunity to own like game worn or game issued NBA jerseys and shorts and just things of that nature.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's really cool. It's a cool process to be involved in, and it's cool and to be a part of it because you get to see like and it's a fan engagement like you don't normally would be able to get, right?
Yeah.
Down to the ones that go into to baseball cards. Like you have the jersey that's cut up into a baseball card. Like it's a feel of the game. Like that was literally a moment of history, moment of game that you can look back to and say that was there. You know what I mean? And with them, especially with photo matching, and then so everything is very legit. It really tells a story to like every piece that a player wears.
Okay. And speaking of one of the pieces, this isn't game worn, it's game issued. It's the K Cunningham jersey, the 20th anniversary game from last season when they went against the Miami Heat. So what made you decide to like change the orientation of the names? Like what inspired you to do that?
Well, it was something I've been wanting to do for a while. We were the last team to switch from a straight name to a curve name, and that was when Nike took over the league. And the reason being was mainly because a straight name won't fit on the profile of a Nike jersey compared to what the older jerseys were. And in this one, and I had to do a little bit of research before we did it to make sure, because I'd make sure like because if we had a guy with anything longer than Cunningham, you're really cutting it close.
Okay.
And you look at some of the old school jerseys, the name drops down, like the teal jerseys from like the 97 to 99. Sometimes they had to drop it down way below the shoulder to get that name across.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so it really makes sense because they want to make everything uniform. They want to make everything look good from team to team and make it look professional, which I like. I'm 100% on board with. It was just something cool a nod to what we used to do, a nod to that '04 team, and just show like and just have that straight across. It was just I think it was just a cool thing to do, especially for that game.
Okay. So taking it back to about 2019, I wasn't into Pistons collecting yet, so I was a broke college student. So one of the things that you did was like there was a massive clean out. He had like a massive clean out of like Pistons items, like ACA, LCA. So what inspired you to do that, and what do you think was like the most obscure item that you had while doing that?
That was basically space. So that was when we were moving from up in Auburn Hills and going
Yeah,
down to the practice center. And we up in Auburn Hills, like as we were there for so long, we had a warehouse across the street. We had a warehouse like our practice center was across the parking lot. We had space there, and then we had another like warehouse down the pier. And everything would over the years was just kind of collect because there was no like we kind of hit the nail on the head earlier about there was no fan engagement with that stuff back then. So it would just, and the way we have to order stuff, we have to order it so far in advance to get it produced that I can't. It's like when the season starts in October, my order. for that year starts the year prior, almost exactly a year before that, if not a little longer. So I have to kind of guess where I'm at, where am I, what team we have. I mean, in terms of like how our front office staff, and we have to account because everybody, I can't miss. Like I can't miss. Obviously, if like a great example is always order 4X tall. Just one, two pieces. I always get something because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what player you're going to get. And like, for example, when we got Boban. So Boban came to us, and it was the first time he actually had warm-ups that fit him really well because I actually ordered accordingly and always had something ready for a player that we might get. So with that said, at the end of the year, there's always something left over. There's always there's always some warm ups. There's always some sweatshirts because you have to have stuff available all the way from October to the following summer league. So right now we're going through the end of our inventory, but I'm still supplying for all the summer league players coming in this summer, and through the up until the new stuff comes in August, September when we do our switch out. So we always have to have something available, and then with that, so that piles up to a certain extent, and so with when we moved downtown, we just lost all the space. So we had to create a way to just kind of what do we do with this? And then I had the idea of like, okay, well, let's do a mass sale for the public. And we did it, and we did it foundation based. So everything was a donation. So everything that everybody bought, we had a really like cheap level. Money went to our foundation to go straight to our charities, and it
Okay.
really done really well. And the
You know,
most obscure piece, though, I was gonna say some of the stuff we kept, we still because we didn't get rid of everything. So I still have
mhm,
stuff here, but like old jerseys that were from players from the '90s. Some of the stuff I found that I never saw before were shorts from about when 1984 was the earliest pair of shorts. And then some of those backup shorts from and game worn shorts from Isaiah Thomas, and that the Bad Boys group was in there, and that was some of the coolest stuff we found that we still have. And we do keep an archive downstairs where we kept those special items.
okay. Do you have like a rough estimate of how much like money was raised for the Detroit Pistons Foundation?
It was a lot. Um, I can't remember what it was, but it was a substantial amount because we also pulled in some stuff that old merch that was in the old building too, that was from our store that was in the palace. That stuff was mixed in. Um I can't remember. I could give you a number, but I have no idea what it was. It was a substantial amount of money that went to charity.
Okay. So you've had the privilege of working at the Palace and LCA. I know one of your interviews you talked about like your experience with like where you were and how you like what you were doing like with like when the malice at the Palace happened. But I won't kind of fast forward to like more recent events where like with Isaiah Stewart and the Lakers or the Pistons with the or Timberwolves this season. Like, so what was going through your head like during that time? Is it like something similar or was it just like, oh gosh, here we go again or something like that?
The interesting part is like as my involvement with the team is more intricate and more as I was before because it would be when the Malice hit, I was only in there for about 3 years, so I'm just kind of more of a it was more of a kind of like what is going on kind of, and then so but now that I have more responsibilities, the first thing that goes in is it's just uh I guess just like protecting the players, making sure everybody's following the rules correctly. So if make sure no one leaves the bench, little things, just because like it's not just a matter of like keeping a guy from running out to the bench, but it's a matter of like, hey, you're reminded like, hey, stay here. Oh, okay, cool. Because when stuff's going on, people kind of wander out with like that. So it's just kind of like that type of stuff.
Okay. And that's the last of my personal questions, but I have like some user submitted questions, so I'm going to have fire those at you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So which player on this team has like the most intricate setup or like has a lot that goes into like their uniform?
Hmm. Probably um say a SAR has a few details because he changes a little bit every once in a while as he's going through. Tim Hardaway Tim Hardaway Jr. always brings a second pair of shoes out and he goes by feel. So if he's out there and he's doesn't feel like he's playing the way he wants to, his shot's not dropping, whatever's going through his head, when he gets to that timeout, he's got to change his shoes.
Hmm.
That's kind of this process that he does, little things like that. Other than that, we don't really have too many guys that are everybody like pretty much has their system of what they need. It's just like certain armbands, certain um no one really changed up last year too much. Some of the simplest ones, I'll tell you one of the simplest ones is Cade Cunningham.
Mhm.
Uh, very routine. He has everything that he wants in his locker, like that he takes care of, and then very simple, like with how we want our tights. Because the one thing we have to do too is that we have the option of wearing blue, red, white, black tights with every uniform. And he likes to keep it clean. He likes to keep it um, white tights with white uniforms, white tights with blue uniforms. Likes his socks to match. So we keep everything according to how the vets want to run the locker room, and that keeps everything simple for us. Whereas years past, I've had it where we were wearing when we first switched to Nike, you could see like some of the footage. We had red tights with white uniforms sometimes. Sometimes we did blue tights with white uniforms, and that was when everything got a little more complicated. We're a very regimented team now.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is describe one prototype that you've seen, like in regards to like a whether it be just a regular NBA uniform or Pistons uniform, but it never got to see the light of day.
Mm. I've seen variations of stuff. So what we do is when we develop our uniforms, like when we develop our city uniform, we've had a couple color variations of what things could be, and ultimately it lands on what we want. So when we were developing our city uniforms, like how those were going to look, we had a design of what we were thinking of doing for the last year's city uniform. And then the print, when we got the sample, the print didn't look just right. It was it was more of a white color with a little gray in it and stuff. And then after we got the sample, it's like, okay, it doesn't look like it did on paper, because that's like almost everything that we do is like when you get the initial art, you have your idea, your concept, and then and the idea is great. But when you get the actual material and you actually see it in person, you're just like, ooh, I'm not sure if that's going to be what we want. And then that's how we fell on to the bone color, like cream color for last year. Was like that was kind of where we transitioned to. And in my opinion, that looks better than what we were actually planning. For me, I thought it was cooler. I think it fit the jersey a little bit. So it actually fell into where we wanted to go. All part of the development process. It's really kind of a cool thing. Like because I've done that many times. I've designed a lot of t-shirts here on my own. We've done a few things, and then I've had great, like what I thought were great ideas. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, that does not look good." So it's just the whole process of that.
No, yeah, I remember. I actually had like an internship with the Pistons a couple seasons ago, like Cunningham's rookie season, and I was there like when they're like during the process of them like making the teal uniform.
Mhm.
So I'm like seeing like the samples, comparing it with like the original teal jerseys from the late '90s and stuff like that, just comparing colors and stuff like that. So I know like the tedious process that goes into like making sure that it comes out how you want it to.
Yeah, down to the threads, down to where placement and stuff goes. It's really a process, and that's one of the reasons why we start uniform development 2 years out, initial stages. So it's like it's a long, lengthy process, and you got to think this is going on with 30 different teams, and then if a team does a rebrand, they got to do 4 jerseys for the season. So it's a lot of work.
All right. So my next question is, so I'm gonna name a couple of players and see if you have like a story or like a funny story that you have in regards to that player. Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey Billups. Funny story with him is the story that keeps on going between the two of us. Um, I've been making lately. I just make fun of him with the gray beard a little bit. When he came into town, I think it was last year, I put a box of Just for Men beard dye in the coach's locker room. So it's kind of cool. It's like the relationship that's happened throughout from when he was a player to us. It was yeah. So he was always like a great leader of that team, and but we've been kept in contact out throughout this entire time.
Okay. Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin, we we have that was one of my favorite guys to have, like you see him doing the stand up stuff like that. So we had a lot of laughs while he was here. But and on the other side of that too, on game day, that guy was like focused. There was no
Mhm.
jokes, there was no laughing. I mean, there was a little bit, right? But he was focused on the game every single time. So he that was impressed me for um my favorite story with him was something I just posted was like his when we were in Mexico City.
Oh, hola, hola,
Hola Mexico. I was dying because on the sidelines when he did that. And we did a funny thing when he first came in. I did a couple we did a couple videos that I had where it was like I put our heads on what movie was that again? Step Brothers
Mhm.
and like, things like that. So I always had videos like that. I would send them to like joke around with them, but we always had a couple jokes that would happen. A funny story with him. This is that my son was looking into when he was in mid teenage years of like thinking about doing LARPing. Do you know what that is? Live action role playing.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, and I was kind of like talking about that in the locker room one time. So, when I walked in the training room one time, Blake was doing a medieval accent to me, like kind of joking about the whole LARPing thing. It was kind of funny. So, just little things like that were great with him.
Okay. Kay Cunningham.
Kate Cunningham. I I joke with him a lot. And I get that I have this dry, like stern sense of humor too. So I always catch people off guard sometimes. So I don't have any specific stuff with him. But I joke with him a lot, just to mess with him a little bit here and there with small stuff.
Okay. Big Sean.
Big Sean.
Mhm.
I actually haven't had any interactions with Big Sean.
Okay. I
I've
figured,
been
you know,
around a few times, but
yeah, like, cause like how I think it's more like I forget like his actual position name, but I know it's like in regards to like creative direction and stuff like that for like the Pistons and how much he's involved with just like the presentation for like
mm.
the organization for like the public. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I've so the department I work with a lot on the business side, had all those interactions. Because we have like it's like I said, there's so much work over here. Like it's tough to like mix our two worlds sometimes because like how much we're doing. But yeah, I just didn't have much interaction with them.
okay. The Zoo Crew.
The Wahuna?
Zoo Crew.
Was that crew? What?
Zoo Crew.
New crew? What's that?
I have no idea. This is another user submitted question, so I was just,
New crew.
but I could probably just do one more.
Okay.
Ben Wallace.
Oh, Ben Wallace. That guy is so the funniest story I have with him was when my first was it year two? Yeah, I think it was year two, my second year championship year. It was either 04 or 05 when the championship year or the finals year. And I was sitting behind the bench. I was working behind the bench, and we were playing San Antonio. And I can't, it was toward the end of the game. We were up by 15 or 20, something like that. So it was like the last 2 minutes. So all the starters are sitting. He just came out of the game. Um, the Spurs put the end of their bench in to finish the game out, took their starters out, same thing, because the game was kind of basically over. And one guy came down, I think it was a center or power forward, came down and shot a three and just airballed the ball. It was down by our side of the bench and just there. And I said I thought it was under my breath, but I said, "Man, that guy shoots like me." And then, but everybody heard it, and everybody was dying laughing on the bench. And like, I remember Ron Dupree like reaching around, grabbing my leg, and like almost crying. And then Ben Wallace just looking around at me and just gave me this look like you shoot like that kind of thing. It was kind of funny. Like that was probably one of my funniest ones I did. Like I did not mean to say it that loud. I was just kind of like, man. Um, but yeah, just the whole bench just erupted with that. Great story about Ben Wallace as a human being, though. That's not like on the funny stuff, but just like how great of a human being he was. Is during that time as I was part time before I became full time, just trying to make ends meet like everybody else, and like and I was helping them early on before we had all this gear. So back then was when we had just a few things here and there, and it was just the league wasn't at the size of what it was in terms of how much gear we have guys. And he was ordering some Nike ID stuff when it first came out, and I was helping him order stuff. Like he'd always just have me order it for him and get it and give it to him whenever. And I was designing some of that stuff on the website, and I had my old computer that I had that was the screen was basically you could barely see it because like it didn't work or whatever. So I had to hook it up to the projection screen in the film room to show it to him. And he's like, "Why are we going here?" I was like, "Oh, my screen doesn't, you can't really see it, so we're gonna project it up." So he saw that, And then a couple months later, right around Christmas, he just goes, "Hey, this is something for you, just for you know the business we're doing. Like, you help me out and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh!" And I opened up as a brand new MacBook.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what do I even?" I didn't. I was speechless. I had no idea. But like, that's the type of stuff, the type of guy he was. Is just always in the back of his head. And then when the opportunity, just he would do that stuff for a lot of people in his life.
Okay. Well, those are all the questions that I have for you. Once again, thank you for taking the time out for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I have a couple questions for you if you got a second.
Okay.
Where do you find the vintage T-shirts?
I find them everywhere. So, you have like vintage resale shops like in Detroit and just stuff like that. eBay and also just like on Instagram, like, you follow like collectors and stuff like that. And you see what they have and I really just message them like, hey, do you have any piston stuff? And they show me what they have. And if I'm interested, then I get it. So
That's cool because that's the one that got me was that horse one you just put up. The
oh,
again,
I remember I saw that like 1 or 2 years ago, but that was the only time I ever saw that shirt. And then once I saw it again, I'm like, okay, yeah.
yeah, that was cool because I was like, I'm looking at the kind of get because I'm looking for when we design stuff for our sex. I don't design any kind of like stuff for like retail. I say design loosely, but like when we're looking for ideas for stuff we do throughout the year for the staff and players, and I kind of like take some of these ideas to try and mix our own stuff, and it never goes to retail. It's the stuff that we just wear as a team or we're doing stuff, and it was really kind of cool because I was like, man, that's really like I love that horse. Like it takes a different version of the cartoonish, like like horse and makes
Or like aggressive type horse, yeah.
yeah a really grit thing. So I thought it was pretty cool. And then I started looking at that. That kind of got me inspired to look at more like vintage T-shirts and stuff that I remember. It's funny when I go through those, I was like, I remember that one. I remember this one, and then growing up, the ones I remember growing up with too was kind of cool seeing on there. So it really kind of like I'm really kind of interested in that. I'm just kind of seeing more of that stuff.
Okay, no, yeah, it's definitely like a world like of its own, like just the whole like just not even just like sports, but just vintage like in its own, like it's its own world and stuff like that. It's just it's so much that you can get lost in it.
Yeah, it's cool and like it's interesting about when we look at like the teams and logos and stuff from the 90s, like especially like 95 to about 2002
Yeah.
and the logos are at right now with certain teams. It's like it's interesting how we went more simple now compared to some how intricate some of these logos were in the 90s. Like for example, our horse logo. I mean, how many different colors and little things that go into that whole logo. And it's really kind of interesting, like, than what they did with that jersey, because the original teal jersey was a screen print, and I think I'm not sure if it didn't. I'm not sure what where because I don't know the history of that part, but I know I've seen the because I have it all up in my equipment room because we have a whole wall of jerseys from I think from '95. I have every jersey up all the way to currently, kind of hanging up, and then the original teal one was like had a screen print, then they put twill over the top of it, and so twill. And so the jerseys you see out there, the game worn ones have that, but the old ones, I'm not sure if they even made it to the court. Like I found a couple just had the screen print across it, almost like a retail jersey. It's kind of cool to see all the development, all that stuff.
No, yeah, it's really interesting just the process of how things were done back then to how it is now. So
Yeah, yeah, it's really kind of cool, and like what we can kind of do with it too is kind of cool. Like with now with like direct to film transfers and all that stuff. Like it's really and all the different type of materials we can use too have access to now is cool.
yeah. Well, once again, I want to just thank you again for doing this interview with me. I'll definitely make sure that I'll shoot over like like the little reels and stuff like that, and so they can get approved. Okay.
All right, cool. Appreciate it.
All right. Yep. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
All right.